Ever feel like you just keep overthinking things and then end up kind of like sabotaging your relationship?
Yeah.
It's a frustrating, you know? Like you really want a connection with someone, but then something holds you back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, today we're going to try to unpack that whole struggle.
Okay.
We're going to be using some insights from this article I found on stoic.nu.
Okay.
You familiar with that?
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Yeah, they're known for tackling these sort of tough social issues.
Yeah.
And this article is no exception.
Oh, good.
Get ready to maybe have some aha moment as we figure out how stuff from our childhood, like our experiences, can actually end up affecting our adult relationships, and even how things like, the way our brains are wired, and even just like society's pressures can contribute to these patterns.
Yeah, and all that stuff can be pretty surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you might be surprised to learn that overanalyzing, which most people think is a negative thing, can actually come from like a place of strength.
Strength.
Yeah.
Okay, now that is interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, how could overanalyzing be a strength?
Well, imagine if you grew up, in a place where things were always changing, like unpredictable.
Okay.
Maybe the adults around you, had like really up and down moods.
Yeah.
Or communication was like all over the place, not consistent.
Right, right.
So to deal with that, to get through that,
Yeah.
a kid kind of has to develop this like super awareness, a way to figure out what's going to happen next emotionally,
Oh, so they can kind of like prepare.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It's almost like a superpower, for dealing with all that chaos.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
So you're always like on edge,
Yeah.
looking for any little sign of a threat so you can stay ahead of it.
Exactly.
That would be exhausting.
It is, but it's how you get through it.
Right. It's how you survive.
Yeah.
But what happens when you you bring that into your relationships as an adult?
Well, that's where things can go wrong.
Yeah.
Instead of seeing your partner as someone who's safe and supportive,
Right.
your brain's still in that threat detection mode.
Yeah.
Even when there's no danger.
Wow. I bet a ton of people listening right now are like nodding their heads.
Yeah, probably.
It's like your brain's just going a mile a minute looking for problems, even if there aren't any.
Exactly.
Now, the article mentions a specific part of the brain that's involved in this, right?
Yes.
Something about the amygdala.
Yeah, that's our brain's fear center.
Oh, okay.
It's part of the limbic system, which is like, the emotional control center of the whole brain.
Gotcha.
And when you've had, trauma or a lot of stress, especially as a kid,
Yeah.
your amygdala can get like stuck in overdrive.
Oh, wow.
There was actually a study back in 2016
Okay.
that showed increased activity, like literally in the amygdala.
All right.
Yeah, in people who had gone through trauma in their childhoods.
Huh?
And that increased activity, well, that's basically what fuels the overanalyzing.
So it's like their brain is like wired for anxiety.
Yeah. Yeah.
You could say that.
Wow. And that can, that could lead to so many misunderstandings with your partner.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, let's say your partner doesn't text you back right away.
Mm-hmm.
Most people would think, oh, they're probably busy.
Right.
But someone with, this overactive amygdala,
Yeah.
they might jump to like, they're ignoring me or they don't care.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like creating problems that aren't even there.
Right, exactly.
And that kind of leads us to the whole self-sabotage cycle.
Right.
So it's kind of like this, you're afraid of being vulnerable
Okay.
because you've been hurt before.
Yeah.
You overanalyze everything your partner does.
Like looking for proof that you're going to get hurt again.
Exactly. You're looking for that evidence to confirm all your fears.
Right. And then what happens? You start acting in ways that push your partner away.
Oh, right, because you're so scared.
Yeah.
And then that just reinforces your belief that, like, you're not worthy of love.
Exactly. Or that relationships are just going to end badly.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It really is. You're so afraid of getting hurt that you end up creating the very thing you're afraid of.
That's so sad.
It is. And it's way more common than people think.
Really?
Yeah. Our brains are amazing. They can adapt to anything.
Yeah.
But that also means they can get stuck in these negative patterns.
Right. Even when those patterns aren't doing us any good anymore.
Exactly.
Like, so we've got, these childhood experiences shaping our brains, and then our brains getting stuck in these loops of like overanalyzing and self-sabotage.
Yeah.
But the article also says it's not just about our own personal stuff, right?
Right.
Like there's this whole cultural side to it too.
That's an important point. We live in a society that almost encourages overthinking.
I guess so, yeah.
Like, we're always getting bombarded with information,
It's true.
and we feel like we have to analyze everything.
Right, and be in control.
Yes, it's like we're supposed to have all the answers, know what's going to happen next.
Yeah, like we can't just relax and go with the flow.
Exactly.
And then you throw in social media.
Oh, yeah.
All those posts about, like, what does it mean when they use this emoji?
Oh, I know. It's crazy.
And how to decode your partner's texts.
It's a recipe for anxiety.
He really is.
And that anxiety just makes it overanalyzing worse.
Right. Instead of trusting our gut, we're like second-guessing everything.
Exactly. We overthink every interaction.
And then that creates distance with our partner.
Yeah, you end up pushing them away without even realizing it.
It's like a vicious cycle.
It is.
So it's not just about what happened to us. It's also about these messages we're getting from it, like society as a whole. Like we live in this culture of overthinking, which makes it even harder to break free from these patterns.
It really does.
So where do we even start? How do we break free?
Well, the first thing is just realizing that it's happening.
Okay.
Like noticing these patterns
Okay.
and realizing that overanalyzing isn't like a personality flaw. It's a behavior you learned.
Okay.
And if you learned it, you can unlearn it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's not about who you are. It's about what you learned to do.
I like that.
Yeah.
What's the next step?
Well, you got to start challenging those thoughts, those negative ones.
Okay.
When that voice in your head starts going crazy with stories,
Right.
you got to stop and ask yourself, hold on, what evidence do I actually have for this?
Okay.
Is this thought actually helpful, or is it just making me more anxious?
So instead of letting your thoughts like run wild, you stop and question them.
Exactly.
And look for proof.
Yes.
Okay, I can see how that would be helpful.
And you know what else?
What?
The article really stresses how important communication is.
Oh, okay.
Instead of agonizing over what your partner might be thinking, just ask them.
Oh, okay.
Open communication can clear up so many misunderstandings.
That's true.
And it helps build trust.
It sounds so simple,
Yeah.
but I bet it's really hard to actually do it.
Oh, it is, especially when you're stuck in that overthinking pattern.
Yeah.
But it's worth it.
Okay, so we've talked about where overanalyzing comes from, how it can lead to self-sabotage,
Yeah.
and some ways to start breaking free.
Right.
Now, the article also goes into some, like, expert perspectives on this.
Yes, it does.
And the historical context, which I'm really interested in.
Oh, yeah, that's fascinating stuff.
So let's dive into all of that.
Sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild when you think about overanalyzing in, like, historical terms
Oh, really?
Yeah, like, back in the day, our ancestors were dealing with real danger all the time.
Right, like saber-toothed tigers.
Exactly. They had to be on alert constantly, scanning for anything that could hurt them.
Yeah, so overanalyzing was actually, like, a good thing.
Basically, yeah.
Kept them alive.
Right, that ability to, like, pick apart every sound, every movement could be the difference between life or death.
Wow, so it's kind of like we inherited this survival mechanism.
Yeah.
But it's not so helpful anymore.
Well, it could be a problem, especially in relationships.
Right, because in relationships, you need to be, like, open and vulnerable.
Exactly.
And that kind of goes against that whole, like, always be on guard thing.
Yeah, it's tough. Like, you want to trust your partner, but you also don't want to get hurt.
Right. How do you balance that?
Well, the article talks about Brene Brown.
Oh, yeah, she's great.
She's done a lot of research on vulnerability.
Yeah.
And she says, let me see if I can find the exact quote.
Okay.
Vulnerability is not winning or losing. It's having the courage to show up and be seen when we have no control over the outcome.
Wow.
Pretty powerful, right?
Yeah, it's like when we try to control everything and avoid, like, any chance of pain.
Yeah.
We end up missing out on the connection we want so badly.
Exactly. Vulnerability is like the key to real intimacy.
You got to let go of that need to control.
Yeah, and just let yourself be seen, even the parts you don't like.
And that's got to be scary, especially if you've, been hurt before.
Oh, it can be terrifying.
So how do you even start to, like, get over that fear?
Well, one thing the article suggests is mindfulness.
Okay.
Like mindfulness meditation.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's not just about, sitting there trying to clear your head.
Okay.
It's about being present, like really noticing your thoughts and feelings.
Without judging them.
Right, exactly.
So instead of getting swept away by, like, all those anxious thoughts, you learn to kind of step back and observe them.
Exactly.
And that creates some space. Right?
It does. You start to realize that you don't have to believe every thought that pops up. You get to choose which ones you want to, pay attention to.
And which ones you can just let go of.
Exactly.
That would be so helpful, especially with overanalyzing.
Oh, yeah. It's like getting off that hamster wheel in your head.
Right. So what are like some of the mindfulness things you can do?
Well, the article mentions this technique called RAIN.
Rain.
Yeah, it stands for recognize, allow, investigate, and nurture.
Okay. That's a lot.
I know, but it's pretty simple when you break it down.
Okay. So let's say I'm, freaking out about something my partner said.
Okay.
What's the first step?
Recognize. You got to recognize that you're feeling anxious.
Okay.
Like, notice what's happening in your body, the thoughts going through your head.
Okay.
And don't try to fight it or judge yourself for feeling that way.
So just like acknowledge it.
Exactly.
Okay. And
You allow that feeling to just be there.
even though it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's the hard part. Our instinct is to, like, make it go away,
Right. Right.
but you just let it exist.
Okay. So recognize, allow. What was the next one?
Investigate.
Investigate.
Yeah, this is where you get curious about the feeling. Ask yourself, what's causing this? What thoughts are making me feel this way?
What's going on in my body?
Exactly.
So it's like detective work.
Yeah,
We're trying to get to the bottom of that anxiety.
exactly.
Okay. And then the last one was
Nurture.
nurture, right?
Yeah, this is where you give yourself some love.
Oh, okay.
Like, recognize that you're doing your best.
Okay.
Maybe tell yourself, it's okay that I'm feeling this way.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Given what I've been through,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean I'm a bad person.
So it's like you're giving yourself a hug
Yeah, exactly.
instead of beating yourself up.
Right. And the more you practice this RAIN thing,
Yeah.
the better you'll get at handling those, anxious feelings.
Okay.
You start to see that they don't have to control you.
You have a choice.
Exactly.
Now, is there like any proof that mindfulness actually works for, anxiety and all that?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
The article mentions a study from 2021, and it found a strong connection between overanalyzing in relationships and something called attachment anxiety.
Attachment anxiety.
Yeah.
What's that?
So imagine a kid whose parents weren't, like, always there for them.
Oh, okay.
Maybe sometimes they were loving and attentive,
Yeah.
but other times they were distant or just, unavailable.
Right.
That kid learns that they can't always count on their parents.
Oh, that's sad.
It is. And
Yeah.
it can lead to, like, anxiety and this fear of being abandoned.
Oh, I see. So they grow up feeling like insecure.
Yeah, and not sure if their loved ones are going to stick around.
And then that carries over into their adult relationships.
Exactly. They're always on edge, looking for signs that their partner's going to leave.
Which, of course, makes it more likely that they will.
Right. It's that self-fulfilling prophecy again.
It's so sad.
It is. But here's the good news.
Okay.
That same study found that mindfulness can actually help.
Really?
Yeah, it can reduce attachment anxiety
Ah.
and help people create healthier relationships.
So mindfulness can actually, like, change those patterns.
It can. It's pretty amazing.
It's like rewiring your brain.
Yeah, it's all about creating space between you and your thoughts and feelings.
Right. And then you can choose how to respond.
Exactly.
Wow. So we've got, like, these ancient survival instincts
Mm-hmm.
clashing with our need for connection.
Right.
Plus all these messages from society telling us to overthink everything.
Yeah, and then all the anxiety that just comes with, living in the modern world.
It's a lot.
It is.
No wonder so many people struggle with this.
I know, but it's important to remember that there are things we can do.
Yeah, there's hope.
We can learn new ways of thinking and behaving.
And build better relationships.
Exactly.
And we don't have to do it alone.
Right. There's therapy, there are books, there are even online communities.
And just talking to your partner.
Yes. Open communication is so important.
Well, before we wrap up this part, the article had this one last thought that I think is really interesting.
Oh, okay. What is it?
It said that maybe instead of trying to figure out our partner's every move,
Yeah.
we should focus on understanding our own emotional needs.
Huh. That's interesting.
What do you think about that?
That's a really good point. It's like, instead of getting stuck in that loop of what do they mean by that or why did they do that,
Yeah.
we can turn inward and ask ourselves, okay, what am I feeling right now?
Right.
What do I need in this moment?
It's a total shift in perspective, right?
It is.
Like, instead of blaming your partner,
Mm-hmm.
you're taking responsibility for your own feelings.
Exactly. And that can make such a difference.
Yeah. Because instead of saying, like, you're making me anxious,
Right.
you can say, hey, I'm feeling a little anxious right now, and I
Yeah.
could really use some reassurance or something like that.
That's so much better. You're not blaming them for how you feel.
Right. And you're telling them what you need,
Exactly. It's all about clear communication.
which is easier said than done, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. It takes practice.
But I bet when you can do that, like really honestly communicate your needs,
Yeah.
That's got to create a deeper connection with your partner.
Absolutely. You're letting them into your world, you know?
Yeah, you're trusting them.
Right. You're saying, hey, I trust you enough to share this with you.
And I trust that you'll be there for me.
Exactly.
It's like you're building a bridge instead of a wall.
I love that. That's a great way to put it.
And I mean, the more you do that,
Mm-hmm.
the more confident you'll become in, speaking up for yourself.
And dealing with all the little challenges that come up in any relationship.
Right, exactly.
It's a process.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
it seems like what we've learned is that, overanalyzing and self-sabotaging,
Mm-hmm.
those can be really tough habits to break.
They can.
But they don't have to control our lives.
We have a choice.
We can choose to do things differently.
And it starts with being aware of those patterns.
Right, being kind to ourselves.
Yes, self-compassion is huge.
And learning how to, understand and communicate our needs.
Exactly.
And remembering that, vulnerability can be scary.
It can.
But it's also the key to real connection.
It is. It's like taking a leap of faith.
Yeah, and trusting that you're worthy of love.
Exactly. Just as you are.
That's a great message to end on.
Yeah. Thanks.
So to everyone listening out there,
Mm-hmm.
remember, you have the power to create amazing relationships.
You do.
It all starts with you.
That's right.
Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, this is great.
We'll see you next time.